Hey guys, welcome to Quinian's Budget Crafts. Let's do this wardrobe right here. The book says it's got some things in it, but I don't think it really needs to be able to open, and even if it could, you wouldn't really be able to see the stuff in it anyway, so we're just going to do it solid. You could use cardboard or dollar store foam or pretty much anything you want really. I'm going to use this XPS because when you cut it pretty thin, it is still a lot stiffer than the dollar store ready board. If that's what you're doing, just go ahead and mill out a couple slats of it. The map shows it being about 2 inches wide, and as far as the height goes, well, the walls are only 2 feet high to begin with, so it's probably a good idea to measure it against a mini and make it fit that. Once you have your dimensions worked out, go ahead and cut out 2 big panels for the front and back, and then 2 narrower panels for the side, and then 2 more panels for the top and bottom. Basically, you're building a box. Just go ahead and hot glue all of this together. And now to fancy it up a little bit, go ahead and draw out something that kind of looks like a villainous mustache, or I don't know, whatever's going to work for the top piece on there for you. I can't draw to save my life, so I got one side that looked pretty good, and then cut that out and use it to trace the pattern to another piece, and you get the idea. So if you refine your shape and do the final shaping and everything by sanding this, be very careful here. You need some exhaust or wear a mask or both, because XPS dust is really not good for you. Just something to keep in mind. Once I got the shape that I liked, I went ahead and glued it onto the top. And then I realized that when I go to put feet on here, the whole thing is going to be too tall with that decorative piece on the top. But it'll be fine. Just go ahead and reshape it a little bit. Before we do the feet though, we need like a little border to tuck the legs behind. So just put a little strip of hot glue on there and then take a coffee stir stick and put it about halfway on the foam and halfway hanging off. The easiest way is just put it on there long and trim off the excess with some flush cutters. Scissors would probably work pretty good too. Get that wrapped all the way around the bottom and then pick out whatever you want to use for legs. I'm going to use a combination of beads because they look kind of cool. These are all beads from the dollar store, so they're not like the highest quality or anything, so you do need to sort through them and pick out a few that actually match each other, because a lot of them don't. Once you've got your beads selected, just put a little hot glue in the corner, stick the leg bead in, and then you can use super glue on the bead to bead contact because it's not going to melt anything, and should probably make the plastic stick to the glass pretty nice. This is a mixed batch of glass and plastic beads. So we need some doors on this thing. You could probably use the XPS that you milled out, but I think it's a little too thick, so what I'm going to use is this really thin cardboard. Just figure out what size you want for the door, cut out a couple panels, and glue them right on. Glue the cardboard side to your foam though, and then peel the white shiny layer off for you to paint it. For the wood texture on this, I wanted to do it 2 ways. The wire brush isn't going to work on the cardboard, so use your X-Acto there to put some pretty good gouges in it, get you some wood grain. Mine were actually not deep enough, so when you do that, make sure you get them deep enough. And then go through and put a few lines of wood grain in the foam with the X-Acto. Don't get carried away because you are going to do more with the brush. Once you've got all your grain lines everywhere you want them to be, go ahead and run through them with a pin to widen them out a little bit. And then take your wire brush and go through and add a little bit finer grain. This will give you a mixed grain depth, so you have more dimension to it, I guess is the word. For some hinges on these doors, we'll just use some more beads. These little short ones here look pretty good. You can't use super glue here because it'll melt the foam, and I didn't want to use white glue because it takes like 4 years to dry. So what you do is you dip the bead in the hot glue on the end of the glue gun and then stick it onto the foam. Some of these longer beads here look pretty good for door handles, so just put down a little bit of super glue and stick them right on there. I'm using gel super glue here because it gives me a little bit more control. It doesn't run everywhere and it won't immediately soak into the cardboard. For the base layer of color and sealant, I'm using half Mod Podge and half burnt umber. You could do Mod Podge in black if you wanted to. I just figured that would make the whole thing a little too dark overall. If you find that your mixture is a little too thick, you can just dip your brush in some water and then back into the paint. You don't really need to mix or anything. Just get some loose water on the brush and it'll help you smear everything around. Let's get the whole thing all painted up in that and wait for that to dry. For the handles and the hinges, I figure I'll stick with gold. I mean, this is a mansion, so this furniture probably was pretty nice at one point. Do be careful with these paint markers though, they tend to bleed a little bit. Also, if you catch the tip on something, it'll splatter paint across whatever you're working on, so go easy on the paint marker. They are great though. For some dry brushing, we'll do a little bit of terracotta and golden sunset. Still didn't quite have the look I wanted, so I did some nutmeg brown to kind of lighten up the browns a little. And then to really make it look old, do just a little bit of gray, pretty much like an edge highlight almost. Just hit the high spots in a few places here and there. Wherever it would get scuffed or dust would build up. For my black wash, I've really been liking the technique of put some on, focus on the cracks, and then wipe off the excess in sort of a splotchy kind of motion. You're not trying to scrub it all off, just like blot off where it will come off on its own. Then any excess that's left behind is left in the cracks or anywhere it might actually collect on its own. Kind of like around the top and bottom of these hinges, that kind of stuff. You know where grime would build up normally. But however you want to do it, just go ahead and put a black or a brown or green wash, whatever you like. Of course, you could put mold or spider webs or moss, any kind of thing like that. I'm going to be doing those kind of final touches once everything is in the house, so I'm not doing it here. I want it all to match when it all goes in. But there you go, super cheap and simple wardrobe. You could modify it so it's only one door or make it a true double door or however you want to do it. Don't forget we're playing games on Friday night on the Discord. And also don't forget about the giveaway. As far as I know, I'm the first one to come up with rollers that fit on a 4-inch paint roller. And I make sure that all of the lines on my rollers are actually sharp where I can. That way it actually cuts into the foam. Got a whole video on that. Go check that out. Of course, if you don't like free stuff, you could always just jump on Patreon and support the channel there, where you get some exclusive access to STL files, including the files for the rollers. And you can tell me what to build. Or if a one-time donation is more your thing, you can do that over on Ko-fi. I've got a website where I've got all the stuff I like to use, like the paint markers I used in this video. And of course, now I have an Etsy store where I sell rollers. All kinds of stuff going on. But as always, thank you for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.